So we are going to be doing a beautiful flow tonight on detoxing the body. I think it's been quite a heavy past few months, both emotionally and also sort of on our physical well-being. Staying at home, staying sedentary, staying indoors and sort of breathing in the same air over and over. So there's been a lot of accumulation of those kinds of emotional and physical toxins in our body. So tonight we're going to take a nice, slow, delicious detox, especially because it's a bit warm at the moment. So just checking in that for tonight's flow, you're going to need a couple of props. So seeing if you have on hand either a yoga strap or a towel. So a bath towel rather than a hand towel, just because we're going to use it as a form of a strap. And any other props that you might need. So hopefully by now you're starting to get to know your own body and your own practice. So you're getting familiar with what you need. So here I've got my yoga bolster. So if you don't have a bolster, then you can just use two pillows as usual, one plugged into the other. And then also either a yoga block or just a thick book to have on hand. So you might not need your block today, but it's useful to have it on hand if you wish to have a little bit of support and make yourself a bit more comfortable. Okay. So coming into a comfortable seated position, perhaps with the legs just in an easy cross, your hands resting on your lap or on your knees, either with the palms face down or face up. And maybe at this point in time, making a choice about whether you want to keep your eyes open but gently focused with the gaze drop just below your nose. Or perhaps you might even want to close your eyes. Just start to let go of the world around us, let go of the day, and start bringing the focus inward. Noticing where your body is making contact with the floor. Perhaps sides of the feet or your seat bones. Noticing what sensations make up this sense of contact. Perhaps pressure, touch, warmth or coolness. Feeling the weight and stability of the lower body as it's rooted down into the ground. And then shifting the attention up to the spine, inviting the spine to lengthen long and tall. Imagining that there's a shaft of light or maybe sort of a beam of light and energy that's moving up your spine all the way up, and as it moves up, it lifts you up with it, eventually moving all the way up, out the crown of the head, raising upwards and out. So feeling the sense of elegance and lift and dignity. And also perhaps at the same time reconnecting with a sense of groundedness and stability in the legs and the lower body. Bringing attention to the breath now, maybe noticing where in the body you feel the breath. Not trying to change or manipulate anything, just noticing the natural flow of the breath in and the breath out. And once again in this moment, how the breath comes in and how the breath leaves again. And it's following the flow of air in and out. Trusting that the breath will carry on breathing itself in and out throughout the day and night. And it can be a real source of comfort and stability. And we can keep coming back to this constant breath moving in and out. now moving to a more active form of the breath. So bringing the hands to prayer at your chest, interlacing the fingers and bringing the knuckles to rest underneath the chin. So resting your chin on top of your knuckles. On the inhale, we're going to raise the elbows up, lengthening the sides of the body, filling the lungs up with air. And on the exhale, tip the head back and exhale through an open mouth as you bring the elbows towards one another. On the inhale, dropping the chin, raising the elbows as high as is comfortable for your shoulders. Exhale, drop the head back, exhale through an open mouth, sigh it all out. Inhale, elbows go up as if they're trying to meet each other near the top. Exhale, sigh the breath out through the mouth. Starting to cultivate heat and energy in the body. Inhale, elbows go up. Exhale, head dips back, elbows squeeze together at the front of the body. Inhale, the elbows go up, moving at the pace of your breath. So although we are inviting our body to move, exhale. We're also inviting the body to move along with the breath. Last one, inhaling, elbows up. Exhale, the biggest sigh yet. Exhale, everything out through the mouth. Dropping the chin, releasing the hands down to the knees. Perhaps taking note of any sense of tingling or heat or energy starting to build up in the body. Bring the hands back to prayer at the chest, interlacing the fingers, but perhaps this time bringing the other pinky finger to the front. As we are then going to flip those hands and push them away from us. On the inhale, raise the hands up to the ceiling. And on the exhale, sweep the hands down and back up to prayer at the chest. Interlace the fingers. Inhale, press away from us and up. Exhale, hands sweep down and back to the chest. Let's do 3 more like this. Interlace hands, push away. Lift up, inhale, stretching open the front of the body. Exhale, sweep down and hands to chest. And 2 more. Press away and up, in, filling the lungs up. Exhale, let the arms sweep down and round and back down to the chest. And the last one, let's make this our biggest one yet. So inhale, make space in the chest, make space in the front of the bodies. Lift, 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 lift. And exhale, sweep round and back to prayer at the chest. And pause, maybe noticing the heartbeat, if anything's happened or changed to the heartbeat. And if it's gone a little faster, maybe just giving it a moment to rest and slow down. Bring the right hand to stretch up to the ceiling, and the left hand, bring the fingertips of the left hand to rest on the floor next to your hip. Stretch that right arm up as high as is comfortable for you. So test checking in with the shoulder, not creating too much discomfort, and seeing if perhaps you need to maybe bring a bend into the elbow. So stretching up, and then leaning over to the left hand side, creating a nice long stretch from the right hip, up the side of the ribs, up along the armpit, and all the way up the arm. Active hands and arms, so stretching the fingertips away from us and rooting the seat bones down. So just checking in and making sure that you're still seated firmly on the ground. So remember, strong rooted foundation and active hand lifting and pointing away from us. Coming back upright, still with the hand stretched up to the ceiling. We're going to sweep that hand diagonally across the body to the opposite knee. And then open back up again, stretching the hand up and sweeping back across the body. Let's do this twice more. So as we start doing this, starting to bring in a sense of twisting and squeezing the internal organs. And on the last one, stretching up, and as we come across, bringing that right hand to rest on the left knee and pausing there. The other arm or the other hand can move anywhere alongside your body to help just give you a little bit of stability in this pose. Lengthening the spine and twisting from the middle and upper back. Slight engagement of the core and starting our detoxification process of squeezing the liver and the internal organs. Coming back to center, pause, scan through the body, notice what impact this movement has had on the body, and then stretch the left arm up towards the ceiling. Same on the other side, bringing the right fingertips to rest on the floor if it's within your reach. Stretching up to the ceiling, lengthening the spine, and then bending over to the right hand side this time. Nice active hands, fingertips together or apart, as long as the hand is active. Noticing where in the body you feel the stretch and seeing if you can investigate those areas with a little bit of curiosity and friendliness, like, hey, what's happening? What's happening in this place? Tending into the neck, making sure that we're looking after the neck, perhaps tucking the chin in slightly so we're protecting the neck. And then coming back upright, stretching the hand up to the ceiling before sweeping it across the body to the right knee. Turning the head with the shoulders and then stretching back upright and sweeping it across again. So starting to bring a little bit of twisting movement in the spine. One more time, twisting across and up. And the last one, twisting across and keeping the left hand on the right knee now as we find stillness in our twisted pose. The back hand is maybe resting gently on the floor, and the gaze could be away from us, away to our right hand side, or even over your right shoulder. Long spine, rooted through the sit bones, a slightly engaged core to help us twist open, and release and coming back to center. Pause for a moment as you let the blood rush back to the organs, bringing vital nutrients and oxygen. Maybe taking in a deep breath in and out. And then slowly and mindfully moving yourself into an all fours position. So perhaps just uncrossing the legs, coming onto your hands and knees with the knees underneath the hips, wrists underneath the shoulders. We're going to move into a few cat-cows. We're going to start by coming into a cow pose, so lifting the hips up, dropping the belly towards the floor, and lifting the chest through the shoulders. Pressing the fingertips into the floor to help protect the hands and the wrists, so that the wrists find some stability. So rather than dumping all the weight into the wrists, see if you can bring some pressure into the fingertips to help spread that force throughout the hand. And then starting from the tailbone, let's move into cat. So tucking the tailbone in and allowing that curl to move all the way through the spine as if it's a wave, until the upper and middle back are pressing towards the ceiling. Head drops down between your shoulders, hanging heavy towards the floor. Pushing the hands into the floor to help increase this curve of the spine. And then reverse back into cow. So lifting the hips, dropping the belly, stretching open the front of the body, reaching the chest between the shoulders. Gaze up in front of you, or maybe even up to the ceiling to open up the front of the throat. And then reverse back into cat. So dropping the tailbone, curling the back, dropping the head. Hands, knees, toes, all rooted firmly into the ground. Before coming back to a neutral spine. So part of our detox is to create a little bit of fire in the body to help burn away any toxins and any stale energy and any kind of sense of stagnancy that's in the body. Alright, so The best place to do that is a little bit in the core. So pressing into the hands, or the fingertips pressing into the floor, and then pressing into the tops of the feet and the tops of the toes. We're going to engage the core and we're going to raise our knees up. So pressed into hands, pressed into toes, and raising the knees up just a little bit off the floor. So you might only get a centimeter, you might get a few inches, you might have to lower back down to the ground and then lift up again. And that's perfectly fine. Letting the knees drop back down to the ground, bringing the hips back and coming into an extended child's pose. Hips resting on the heels, hands walking forward. You can maybe spread your hands nice and wide to either edge of the mat and drop your forehead onto the ground. Throughout the practice, throughout every pose, perhaps tuning into where in the body we might be focusing this detox and this purification process. So here we're opening the back of the body, lengthening the spine, but we're also squeezing once again the front of the body. As we squeeze the internal organs in the front of the body, we squeeze some of the old blood out. And when we release, we create space for fresh blood and nutrients and oxygen to take their place, to take away old waste products and old toxins that have been stored in the internal organs and replace them with these delicious nutrients that help keep our bodies so healthy. Coming back up once again into all fours, we're going to repeat that core exercise where we lift the knees, so pressing into the hands, pressing into the tops of the feet, and engaging the core, getting ready to 1, 2, 3, lift those knees up, extending the ankles, toes pressing into the ground, engage the core, and dropping the knees down to the ground. Fantastic, well done everyone, really, really great. Okay, we're going to move into thread the needle pose. So keeping the left hand planted on the floor, we're going to take the right hand and we're going to thread it underneath the left arm, underneath the left side and armpit. We're going to bring the right shoulder towards the ground. So threading the arm through, bring the right shoulder towards the ground. That left hand, that left hand is just brilliant. You can do loads of things. So the left hand can either just be placed on the floor alongside your face with the elbow bent to help give you a little bit more traction and a little bit more twist. Or if you're feeling like you want a little bit more of a opening of the chest, you can sweep that hand around and tuck it in around your back. Tuck it into that into the crease, the right hip crease. So really it's just up to you. So seeing what you need for your body today. Some days are more challenging days where we decide, yes, we're going to push a little more, try a little more. And other days are rest and replenish days where we choose actions that are nourishing rather than challenging. Noticing if there's areas where you might be holding tension in your body. So perhaps areas that are tense as you try and hold yourself up. See if you can breathe into those areas and invite them to release and relax a little bit. Just allow the stretch to take place naturally. And if you find that you are experiencing pain, then perhaps easing out of the pose and making finding either a different pose or perhaps just making a choice to skip this pose out. If your arm is wrapped around your back, releasing that left hand back down to the floor and then pressing into the left hand to push yourself up. Stretch that right hand up away from you, opening up the shoulder before bringing it back down to the floor. Now we're going to repeat on the other side. Just checking in if you've got any props in the way, just shift them out. This time taking the left hand, and we're going to thread the left hand underneath the right armpit and the right arm. So stretching over to the other side. Again, bringing the left shoulder to the floor. And just noticing what sensations arise when this happens. Where do you notice it? What kind of sensations are there? Do they stay the same or do they change? And deciding what you're going to do with your right hand. and right arm. So perhaps leaving it in front of you to help prop you up, take some pressure off the shoulder, or perhaps wrapping it around your waist, reaching around behind you to tuck your fingers into your left hip crease. Checking in with your neck, that's still long and relaxed. And not forgetting to check in with your breath as well. Maybe starting to squeeze squeeze out the shoulders, the shoulder joints, the armpits, the upper back. So throughout the practice, we're going to focus on squeezing out the different portions of the body. Squeeze out old lymph, old blood, old tissues. Squeeze out any toxins and put them back into the body system so the body can effectively get rid of them. And then make space for fresh, delicious nutrients and happiness. Unraveling that right arm, if it's been wrapped around your body, and placing the right hand flat on the floor, press into it to lift yourself up. Stretch that left arm away from you. Maybe give your fingers an old waggle, and then bring the left hand back down to the floor. Taking one more round of cat-cow in your own time, just opening the front of the body, and then reversing to curl the spine, and then coming back to all fours. All right. So we're going to move into something called hero pose, which is a little bit of an intense pose. So being very mindful as we do it. You're going to need your props here. Well, you might. I say you will. You might need your props here. Depends how flexible you are. So the most important thing in this pose is to take great care of the knees. So let's start the pose by coming onto our knees as if we're in a camel pose. And the whole hero pose looks like this. Okay, so or perhaps some of you might even be able to go a little bit more flat. All right, it can be very intense. We don't really feel like intense right now. We want calm and restorative. So standing up on your knees, you might want to grab your bolster, just pop it between your knees. So maybe even shuffling your knees quite close to the front. So whether you have pillows or whether you have maybe like a nice big sort of chunky pillow or something. Sit down on top of your bolster and test that out. If that's good for you, if that's good for your knees, great. You might want to experiment with going back. If this is too intense, just come back on your knees, maybe just spend some time here, or come into a child's pose. If this is good for you, stay here and take time to just settle into this pose. If you want to go a little deeper, bring your hands down to the floor and start to walk yourself down onto your elbows. Test this pose out, tune into your body, hear what your body is trying to tell you, and then if you feel you can go a little deeper, you might even walk your elbows a little closer to the ground, and you could even bring the crown of your head to rest on the ground. So opening up the front of the body, creating length and space, and at all times just checking in that you're protecting the neck, protecting the knees. So the toes are pointing directly away from the knees, and but they're still in line with the heels and with the knees. Taking in long deep breaths, maybe sending those breaths into the pelvis, into the front of the body. Seeing if you can bring a sense of ease without struggling or striving too much to achieve anything. And then if you are fully back on the floor, working your way up onto your elbows and eventually up onto your hands, and very slowly and mindfully making your way back up into a sitting position. So wherever you've been, finding your way up to a seated position. And just pausing there for a moment allowing your spine, allowing your hips and your back and your legs just to readjust, realign, before eventually coming forward and either with your arms extended or with your hands reaching back towards your toes, coming into a child's pose. You can keep the bolster exactly where it is. Let the shoulders rest towards the ground. Just opening up the lower spine and the glutes. Pressing into the hands to lift yourself up slowly and mindfully, taking great care. We're going to come into a seated position. So again, just getting to know your body and see how does your body feel in a seated position. So perhaps it needs a little bit of height. Perhaps it absolutely loves being flat down on the ground. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Bend the right knee and then bring the right foot towards your left hip. So you've hooked your right leg over your left leg. You might want to stay there, so see how this feels. You might want to bend your left leg and bring your left foot to your right hip. So basically what we've done is we've just folded our legs in front of us and we've brought feet to opposite hips. So aiming to get the knees stacked on top of each other. If you don't, that's fine, but if you can, sort of energetically imagining that they're moving that way. Feeling the edges of the feet making contact with the floor, and lengthening the spine up and out of your lower body. Extending the arms away from you at shoulder height and wrapping the right arm underneath the left arm to come into a twisted arm. So these are our eagle arms. So we've wrapped the right arm around the left arm and pressing the fingertips or the palms into one another. Feeling the pressure of the hands against one another, opening the back of the body. You're pulling the scapula away from each other, stretching open the back muscles. And maybe taking a moment just to enjoy this as well. So if this isn't within your reach, you can also just reach your hands for opposite shoulders. So this also gives you an opening of the back body, and this is a delicious stretch. Honestly, sometimes I prefer this stretch than the eagle arms. So choosing what fits you. And then if you really want to add an extra layer of squeeze, bringing your chest forward and just letting yourself lie over your legs. So if you're in eagle arms, you can tuck your elbows into your belly if you want, or hook them over your knees. And wherever you are, using your breath to ground you into the present and into your sensations. Constantly coming back to your breath. Using it as a guide to tell you how your body's doing, how your body's responding. And also to show you when your mind has been wandering and bringing your mind back. Coming back to an upright position, unwrapping or releasing the arms and slowly extending them away from your shoulder height, maybe giving the fingers a little bit of a wiggle, the wrists a little bit of a turn and a wiggle. And then let's stretch those legs out in front of us. Maybe just tapping the knees up and down, giving them a little bit of a wobble. Releasing the hips a little bit, because we have been asking them to do some pretty intense things. Okay, and this time, bending the left knee, bringing the left foot over to the right hip. So now the left knee is on top, and if you want, you can stay exactly where you are, or you can just scooch that right foot in. And now we've got both feet moving towards opposite hips. Again, you can kind of use your hands to maneuver yourself into place. Ground yourself through your sit bones, through the contact points of the floor, lengthening the spine, stretching the hands out away from you, and this time sweeping the left arm underneath the right arm, and once again either coming into eagle arms or perhaps giving yourself a really nice big hug. So tuning in and seeing what your body needs most. On the inhale, lengthening the spine. And on the exhale, sinking the hips a little more into the ground. And then choosing whether you want to stay here or perhaps whether you want to fold over and squeeze that front body closed a little bit more. Finding your breath. Just noticing the flow of breath in and out. Noticing if perhaps you're reaching or striving, perhaps for a particular pose or a particular version of the pose. Maybe just taking a step back and observing if it's reaching for something or exploring and trying something, challenging yourself, or perhaps are you pushing yourself to do or be something that you think you should be. And then coming back upright, releasing the arms slowly, giving the joints time to adjust and stretch out, reaching the hands away from you. Once again, turning the wrists, maybe wiggling the fingers, stretching those knees out away in front of us, and giving the legs a little wiggle as well. Maybe just turning the feet from side to side, and then spreading the legs a little bit wider, and turn the feet in towards one another, and then out, and in, and out. Just repeating that, maybe getting a little faster and faster, just to release the femurs, release the upper leg bones in the hips. Just bring a bit of movement in there. And a bit of fun, really. Cool. Okay, so from here we're going to come back to lie on our backs. Okay, so coming to lie flat on our backs, but this time with the knees bent and the feet flat on the floor. Your arms can just be resting alongside you, with the backs of the palms resting on the floor, or the backs of the hands resting on the floor with the palms facing up. We're going to stretch the right leg up, and then we're going to cross it over the left leg as if we're very elegant ladies that are getting ready for a party. If you can wrap your right foot behind your left calf, fantastic, go for it. I cannot, so I'm just pointing my right toes down to kind of to imagine that I'm kind of getting there. Now, grabbing your pillows close by, because these will be helpful if this stretch is a bit intense for you. You're going to let your knees drop over to the left hand side. So you've wrapped your right leg over, and then knees drop over to the left hand side to come into a spinal twist. So testing it out, seeing what it feels like for you here. Perhaps you want to use your prop just to support your legs, so that so in case you feel any pain, or in case you feel that this is too intense, or you just want to make it a bit more of a restorative and a restful pose, you can use your prop and it'll help you out to do just that. Arms can either stay where they are, or you can stretch them up so that they extend from your shoulders at shoulder height, and your gaze follows out over your right shoulder. So checking in with how your legs are feeling, once again protecting your knees. So just the closer your prop is to your hip, the more support you'll get from your prop. So if I put my prop underneath my hip like this, my legs won't go as far over to the right, but that's fine. I can still experience a stretch even with that. Or if you find that having your legs crossed is too much, you can just bring your right leg alongside your left leg and then come back into the spinal twist. It doesn't matter what your position looks like, because whatever the pose is, whatever adjustments you make for your body, it will be effective, it will benefit your body. So as long as we're honoring our body and we're listening to the messages our bodies are giving us, we can still benefit from the pose, even if it doesn't look like a textbook case, even if it looks different from me or from each other. unraveling your twist by bringing the head back up first to center and bringing the knees back to center. Maybe adjusting the hips if need be, stretching the left leg up and then wrapping that over the right leg. Bringing the prop over if you need to. And then letting those knees just flop over to the right hand side. I find it very useful to just shift my right hip a little bit more to the center. It just creates a nicer twist in my lower body. And then bringing the gaze over to the left hand side. So kind of creating a little arc with your nose as you bring your head over to the left. Bringing your attention to your spine. Can you trace the spiraling sensation in your spine? So can you trace the twisting? So our lower spine, the sacrum, the part that is connected to the hips, the part that is most solid, the last vertebra in the vertebral columns are fused together, and so that means that they have the least amount of movement. And then as you move up in the spinal column, you get more and more movement. And if you think about it, if you think of how you can turn your head so easily side to side, when you think of your hips and your lower back, there's not very much movement in the lower back. So noticing where you feel the twist and where you feel the sort of the oppositional sort of movement in the spine. Just starting to get to know your body. And then bringing your gaze back up to center, bringing your knees back up to center, uncrossing your knees, bringing your feet as wide as your mat, letting your knees drop in towards one another, and then just doing a little bit of a windscreen wiper motion just to loosen those hips a bit. Just sweeping your knees from side to side, bringing motion into the joints, into the hip joints, lubricating the hip joints a little bit. And coming to pause. We're now going to do our last little bit of core. Okay, so again, we're firing up that detoxification fire in our bellies. Bringing your hands to rest behind your head, so perhaps interlacing your fingers behind your head. We're going to come into a version of bicycle crunches. So bringing your knees up so that they're stacked above your hips with your toes pointing away from you. Your elbows are out to the side. And you're going to bring your right knee in towards your face, straighten your left leg, and then touch opposite elbow to opposite knee. And then come back to center. And then you're going to straighten your right leg, bring your left knee in, and the right elbow goes to opposite knee. And then repeating on either side. And we're just going to keep going for a little while. So back and forth, starting to feel that fire in the belly. Really just doing as best you can, twisting from side to side. And let's do another 10 more. Go on. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, last 3, last 2, come on, we're almost there, and last 1, woo! Yes, and just let everything flop down to the ground. Notice where you feel the burn and know just how good that is for you. Stretch your legs out away from you, maybe flex your feet, stretch your hands out away from you, extend everything in opposite directions, stretch, stretch, stretch. And then just release and relax and let everything fall to the floor. Well done, you guys. You've worked excellent. It worked really hard, done fantastic things. Bend those knees once again. Bring them into the chest. Perhaps wrap your hands around your knees, or you might even want to wrap your arms around your knees, around the front of the shins. So wherever you are, just pulling the knees in towards the chest. We're entering into our cool down phase now. So things are going to slow down. We're going to bring our heart rate down a little bit. We're going to bring our rate of breathing down a little bit. And we're going to bring a little bit of detox action into the gut and into the intestine. So just squeezing the knees in to bring a little bit of a squeeze of that gut, of that intestine. And then stretching the left leg away from you so that it rests on the floor. Just circle your right leg in your right hip joint a few times. Just gently circling. I'm going a little bit fast, a little bit rough. So noticing if you are maybe going a little bit fast or if you're striding a little bit, and just slowing yourself down. And then pulling your knee up towards your armpit, wrap your arms around it before squeezing it in towards your center. So you're almost squeezing your belly in from the right hand side. So we're giving the ascending colon, so this is the colon from the right hand side, we're giving the ascending colon a little bit of a massage, a little bit of stimulation. And that helps. So the intestines squeeze our food down, they squeeze the nutrients out, but they also squeeze our food all the way down. But sometimes when things get a little bit stuck, if we've been sitting a lot, if we haven't been drinking enough water, then things can get a little bit, the traffic can get a little bit slow in the intestine, so to speak. So giving it a bit of massage like this, giving it a bit of activation, could just help to get the traffic flowing again. I hope you like my analogy. Release the right leg away from you, stretch it out in front of you, and then bring that left knee in. So same thing with the left knee, circling the knee a couple of times to bring motion into the hips. And then squeeze that left knee towards your armpit and then in towards your center. And then squeeze from there. So this time we're working the descending colon. So the colon, which is the end part of your intestine, actually makes an upside down U shape in your abdomen. Ascending colon coming up this way, and that's why we start with the right leg on this side. Actually, is because we want to massage and get the movement up this way, so that whatever waste product is stuck in there moves across, and then by massaging the descending colon on the left side, we're allowing it, or we're encouraging it to kind of move down so that it can become expelled. Okay, nice squeeze. We're relaxing the shoulders a little bit. And then releasing that left leg, letting it stretch out in front of you. Stretching the arms out away from you, so just resting them on the floor. Rest the legs, let the toes fall open. And just take a moment to pause. Let's take 3 intentional breaths. So they can be any kind of breaths you want. They can be in and out through the nose, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Whatever you feel like, but just making them really conscious and intentional. So that means paying attention to the breath. Means maybe trying to draw out the out breath, make it a little bit longer. It means choosing a breath that is the healthiest and kindest breath to your body right now in this moment. Reaching for your towel or your yoga strap if you have one. Just sort of unravel it and scrunch it together so that you're forming a long, so you're forming like a long sausage type thing. Bring your right foot, or actually bend both knees with your feet on the floor, and then hook your right foot into your towel. So if you have a yoga strap, you're just doing the exact same thing but with a yoga strap. So see if you can get your whole towel just to fit onto your foot without too much overlap on either side. And then push your foot up towards the ceiling. So step into that towel. So your foot can be stretched up towards the ceiling, or perhaps it can be stretched away a little bit away from you. So check in with what angle best suits your body. You'll know because an angle that's too much will either have your knee bent, or it will be quite painful behind your knee and behind your leg. So stepping that foot into the towel, using your arm, your lower arm and your hands to create an opposite force on that towel, and then bringing a little bit of relaxation into your shoulders. So still softening the shoulders, but allowing your hands and your lower arms to create that kind of tension. If you want a little bit more stretch, you can stretch that left leg away out from you. Scanning through the body to see if you're holding tension anywhere else except in the foot and in the hands. Just inviting the rest of your body just to relax and soften. And then moving both parts of the towel into your left hand, bring that right leg over the body, across the body, to fall over on the left hand side. So we're once again doing a spinal twist, but this time we're doing it with a straight leg. If your knee's bent, that's fine. You can just let your knee fall to the side as well. Or if your leg's straight, just keep it lengthened. You can open up your right hand to stretch away from you. Just using your towel to maintain a little bit of length and stretch in your right leg. This you might be able to feel from your right fingertips all the way across your body to your right toes. Should make a really delicious long side stretch. And then lifting that leg back up to center, releasing it from its little towel host, and doing the same on the opposite side. So this time bringing the left foot into the towel. And it's almost like you're kind of giving your foot a little bit of a scrub with this towel. And then either keeping the right knee bent or stretching the right leg away from you, step that foot into the towel. Create an opposite force with the hands and soften the shoulders. Finding any place of intensity, of a deep stretch, and breathing into that place. As you breathe in, maybe just saying the word ease as you breathe into that place. Ease. Ease. It might be a bit weird talking to your legs and talking to your body, but your body makes a really good conversationalist. And the advantage of being at home while you do this is no one needs to be listening to what you're doing or who you're talking to. So just talk away to your body if that's what you wish. Bringing the towel into the right hands and letting your left leg fall over across your body onto the right hand side, and then stretch the left arm away from you to get a really delicious full body stretch from the tips of the left fingers all the way across the body, across the left hip, down, follow the stretch all the way down your left leg to the left leg, to the toes on the left leg. Bringing the gaze over to the left hand side. Finding your breath. And then lift that leg back up to center, up, 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 up. Release it from the towel. Drop your towel off to the side. and reach for your bolster. We are in our final and the most delicious pose of them all. So we're going to do legs up the wall. There's a couple of different versions. If you have a wall close by to you, or a door, or something that you can prop your legs up against, fantastic. Take a moment now to move yourself close by to that wall and set yourself up. If you don't have that, or if you're quite happy where you are, you can just grab your bolster. You can grab your block as well if you fancy it. Lift your hips, pop your bolster underneath your legs, and stretch those feet up to the sky. So the advantage of being against a wall or against a door or another surface is that you can just rest your legs against it. And we're going to be here for the last couple of minutes. So if you are up, if you are propped up with a pillow, you might actually want to get that towel again and maybe wrap both feet in it. And then, using your hands just so it just adds a little bit more of support for your feet, so that they can just rest a bit more. If you are going up against the wall, you can still use your prop or a blanket, and you pop that up against the wall, shift your bum onto your prop, and then really you just kind of have to find your own way to get your legs up the wall. So this is my favorite way. Just shift up so that my hips are against the wall, and then, there we go. Lift up the legs, hips are nicely supported, shoulders are pressed against the floor, upper body is relaxing into the floor, feet, the toes, and the feet are just relaxed in whatever way is comfortable for them. And your hips, if you want your hips to be flat up against the wall, that's perfectly fine. But if you find that that's maybe a little bit too intense, you can always shift away from the wall. Bring your hips a little further away from the wall. And if need be, you can even press your feet flat into the wall and just rest there. So just finding what feels comfortable, finding what feels good. Remembering to move your body in ways that communicate that you love your body and that you're looking after your body. Alright, so I'm going to get myself back into the one without a wall, just in case you don't have one. I'll join you for solidarity. So we're going to be here for another minute or so. So wherever you are, perhaps sensing into the legs, into how gravity is helping the blood and the lymph and any extra liquids that are in the leg to drain back into the upper body. It's not unusual if you find that perhaps your heart is beating a little harder, because it's got a much higher proportion of blood now in the upper body, which is normal and it is fine. In fact, it's quite healthy. We're flushing out the old blood and the lymph from the legs, moving into the bigger, sort of like the bigger lymph nodes in the hips and the upper body, where it can then be taken to the kidneys and to the rest of the organs that flush them out of the body. We're bringing some more blood to the heart, so it is working a bit harder because it has to pump up against gravity now, but it's also got more blood to work with, which is great. This is also very relaxing, very, very soothing on the nervous system. If you've had a busy day, if your mind doesn't stop going, if your thoughts are crazy all over the place, hopping into legs up the wall post, and it is amazing what 5 to 10 minutes in this will be. So wherever you are, very, very slowly bringing your legs down, perhaps straightening them out in front of you, maybe moving your props out of the way so that your body is flat on the ground. If it's comfortable, closing your eyes. focusing for the last couple of minutes your entire attention on your inner experience. Physical sensations, emotions, maybe a sense of tingling or vibration throughout the body. Maybe a sense of release as your joints and your muscles have released tension that they've picked up throughout the day. We're going to take 3 last breaths in and out, but like big sighing breaths. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and sigh it all out through the mouth. So when you're ready, breathing in a deep, deep breath in through the nose, inhaling all the way into the lungs, down to the bottom of the abdomen, and sigh it out through the mouth. Once again, breathing in through the nose, and sigh it out. And last one, in through the nose, and out through the mouth. And if you have a couple of moments to spare to just stay in Shavasana, go for it. Take a couple of moments. What are a couple of moments in Shavasana? What are a couple of minutes from your day when it gives you so much emotional, physical integration into the body? It gives you a time to let go of your practice, let go of the past, and just be still and quiet in the moment. As always, it was an absolute pleasure practicing together. Please drink lots and lots of water after this, because we have squeezed out all those toxins and we need to flush them out. So make sure you're drinking lots of water. Maybe you're hitting a green smoothie, anything really, just to help flush all those toxins out of the body. So we've done the body a big favor by physically squeezing them out. Now you just need to do the last little bit by drinking loads of water and flushing them out. You may need to pee a lot more this evening or this afternoon, but you'll feel a lot better at the end of it. So thank you very much. I hope you had a wonderful time with me today on the mat, and namaste to you. And may your life be filled with ease and with good health.